Hi, I'm Brian. This is the third video in a quick overview on data modeling. We've talked about the layers of data modeling. What does it mean? What kinds of models are there? What's master data from kind of a business context? But I really want to start talking, just give a brief overview on enterprise master data. Some people, in my drawing here, I just say EA, MDM. And I think a lot of people in the enterprise architecture space or in the business architecture space would tell you that they have, compelling data models that greatly and perfectly describe the enterprise. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I want to talk about big categories, though, sort of big dimensions in the enterprise master data space, because they're not in our business systems, right? Like not inherently. We'll talk about where they kind of peak in. But the enterprise master data ecosystem drives all of the changes in technology and so many of our decisions. And so it's worth like really at least being cognizant of what's here. So let's start at the top. We're going to start with something a little bit abstract, which is called a capability model. Now, a capability model is just the capability to get a thing done. It's pretty abstract. Let's cover a really basic capability model that like almost any business does, and then we'll like dig into one little piece of it kind of as an example. So high level capabilities: design a product. Yep, everybody designs a product, whether it's consulting or widgets or pens. Yep, design includes marketing and R&D. Yep, that makes sense. Remember, these are capabilities, right? Build, so I got to make the thing. I've got manufacturing, I've got ops, I've got to sell it, so I've got to get some leads and I've got to do the sales, and I've got some pro serve maybe, right? So I'm doing some consulting related to my pens, and I've got to support them, right? So I'll talk about the bikes again, so maybe there's some pro serve around bike fleet implementation, and then we've got service and support, right? So we've got a service and support issue here. Operations, we have things like HR, finance, facilities, legal. Underneath legal, we might have real estate management, right? Like big companies will like have hundreds of locations, even 8 or 10, and you're managing a lot of real estate and contracts. The capabilities that you have, right? What you do in-house versus what you outsource. This is kind of what people think about in the abstract. This is what we do, right? And there's this map, and there's a whole set of tools and techniques you can use around capability-based planning and modeling. Fascinating. Capability is different from process, right? So we talked a little bit about process in a different video. I have process just very lightly drawn here. Process is the orderly set of steps with a given input and output with a given set of tools to produce a given result, right? So capability is often manifested by process, right? So to market a thing, there are 10 different processes that I'm going to do, but a capability is more than just those processes and their output. It's also the people that do it, the technologies. There's a little bit of abstraction difference between capability is what I do, processes, specific steps, specific outcomes, and they're different models and maps. Let's talk about the really fun one, organization. So everybody knows, right? You've got an org chart. There's a CEO, there's a big boss. Let's look at a good sized org chart. So there's US, there's EU, there's Canada maybe, and then shared, right? So remember, we talked about like we've got capabilities, we've got processes, but really one of the biggest ones that people move around, and from a business standpoint, org moves faster than tech always. And you can shuffle this org chart logically in a Visio diagram or in a PowerPoint very quickly, and then spend an awful lot of time making the processes and the technologies like catch up to the new org chart. And why is that? Well, in the US and EU and Canada, we do some marketing, and we definitely do sales and support. And we got some shared stuff, right? So like we're going to do HR in these locations, but the processes might be a little bit different because of this other thing, regulation. So by geography, now we've blended our org hierarchy, by the way, with our geography hierarchy. They don't always line up because here's shared services. Shared services is a global organization, but not org aligned by geo, right? So now regulation kicks in, and some of these shared services are going to do these capabilities in different places. Oh, and we only do manufacturing in Canada, but we do most of our R&D in the EU. So we have different transactional systems running in these different places, maybe, with different logical owners and different data models doing really detailed things, right? Like we're making e-bikes, we're designing and manufacturing global e-bikes. This, requires a whole org, and we're going to be all over the world. Now, regulation is the different one, right? Because regulation will cross org. Regulation will cross geography. So a standard or some regulation will get adopted in a country, and then multiple other countries will start adopting it or set implementation timelines, right? They don't care about your org chart. So a lot of times you'll end up with regulation that is related to geography and market trends, and that will start pushing all kinds of changes through technology through your org chart. And people in your org will have different responses. By the way, here's technology. Like in all of this data modeling and this, like the real underneath this whole set of models is your technology model. So this is your actual IT architecture, your app architecture, whatever you want to call it, underneath and needing to support these various, hierarchical domains. So that's an interesting challenge. These are all hierarchies. Most of our systems, data systems, particularly relational, don't do hierarchy very well. Almost all information and analytics that we want to do will use lots of hierarchy to do drill downs and roll ups, right? So inherently, and we've done there's all kinds of data warehouse models for multi-layer hierarchies. There's lots of cool things to do hierarchies, and it's all related to all these dimensions out here or hierarchies in the master data, right? So maybe we make bikes and we've got 10 different kinds of bike models, but we're going to start making tricycles. So now I've got category of products and then product in category. And it's another hierarchy, and it's a hierarchy in my master data system. And some of my transactional systems won't even understand it. Like some of them won't know that bikes are two-wheel category and trikes are three-wheel category, because their system won't have the capability to add that as a custom field. Or maybe it's not interesting or important to those processes. So when we think about where are we going to put extra master data, sometimes the best place to put it ends up being here, right? And we end up, running a lot of transactions in the systems down here and then augmenting a little bit into our information model so we can really do the analytics that we want, right? So the enterprise master data model, we're going to spend a lot of time in org and geo and regulation and how that impacts technology. But these are the big, unseen enterprise MDM dimensions. I think that covers a lot of it. One more section, we're going to cover this domain-specific progression idea.